Hey, Natalie, what the hell are you doing? I understand you don't like Mom, but you shouldn't throw away things she gave for our daughter. You should apologize to Mom for this.
My husband, who knows nothing, says this. He took out the celebratory ribbon from the trash can and handed it to my husband, saying, "Look at what's inside." My husband opens the box with a puzzled expression.
What is this?
My husband is speechless, and then his face turns bright red. He says he will go to Mom, trembling with anger. I quietly nod and get into the car with my husband. My name is Natalie. I am a 32-year-old housewife. I have been married to my husband David for 3 years. I am currently pregnant and the baby will be born soon. My husband is overjoyed upon hearing that our first child will be a daughter.
I will protect our daughter for the rest of my life.
He said that and started buying baby supplies early on, preparing for the birth with more enthusiasm than me. I'm grateful that my husband has been supporting me in various ways since I became pregnant. However, the problem lies with my mother-in-law. My relationship with my mother-in-law is extremely strained, and we have already cut off contact with each other. The conflict with my mother-in-law began during the marriage introductions. First, I went to my in-laws' house for the marriage introductions. A dish was served that used an abundance of ingredients that I had told them beforehand that I was not fond of. At that moment, my husband erupted like a raging fire, passionately exclaiming to my mother-in-law,
"What kind of nerve do you have to harass her since before we got married?"
My mother-in-law said, "I'm sorry, I just misunderstood it as something you liked," and laughed. However, I strongly believe it's not true. I'm sure she deliberately did it, just as my husband said. That day, when I arrived at our apartment where we used to live together, my husband bowed to me and said he was sorry. To be honest, at that time I was considering re-evaluating the idea of marriage. However, my husband repeatedly assured me, saying, "I will definitely protect you from my mother." So I decided to believe him, and we got married. When we got married, I made various promises with my husband. Firstly, my mother-in-law and I agreed not to meet outside of formal family events. Secondly, we agreed not to have meals together. If we visit our parents during the holidays or New Year's, my husband would go alone to his family's home. We also promised not to share my contact information with my mother-in-law. As a result, we never received any contact from her, and our newlywed life was incredibly peaceful and calm. I also made it clear to my husband that if he ever broke these promises, I would immediately return to my parents' house and he would have to choose between me and his mother. This means that my husband had to decide whether to live with me and sever ties with his mother or divorce me. My husband always prioritized me and continued to keep his promises. However, even after that, my mother-in-law caused various problems. First, there was the incident at our wedding. We couldn't simply exclude my mother-in-law from the wedding, so we invited her. But to everyone's shock, she showed up wearing a striking white dress not suitable for a woman in her 60s. This left the attendees in a state of shock. Even my father-in-law seemed unaware and became furious, demanding that my mother-in-law change her attire. My mother-in-law, without showing any remorse, complained that she had prepared for this and changed into another dress suitable for a wedding. Apparently, every time she met relatives on my husband's side, my mother-in-law would laugh and jokingly say that I should pay her the cost of tailoring that dress. All of my husband's relatives awkwardly smiled, and during the family gathering after the wedding, everyone sympathized with me. Furthermore, she would try to enter my dressing room without permission during the outfit change, attempt to stain my dress, go to the reception to take the cash gifts that I was managing, and act however she pleases. In the end, she drank excessively, getting completely drunk. She even tried to physically confront me, so the staff had to forcefully take her outside the venue. After the wedding, my husband apologized to me by kneeling down in the waiting room. and my husband sincerely apologized to my parents and relatives, expressing his embarrassment and desire to sever ties with such a mother. My parents and relatives, witnessing my mother-in-law's outrageous behavior, suggested reconsidering the marriage. However, as my husband genuinely apologized to everyone with a sense of remorse, they concluded that he was not a bad person. I appreciate the people who offered sympathetic words to my husband. Well, normally you wouldn't encounter such a situation requiring apologies like this. Due to the unbelievable incident that occurred at the wedding, my husband stayed at his parents' house for a while. As a result, after the honeymoon, we enjoyed a peaceful and relaxed life together in our new home. However, in the midst of that, an unexpected incident occurred one day. Since I am a housewife, I usually stay at home during the day, taking care of household chores and rarely going outside. I wake up early in the morning, prepare breakfast and lunch for my husband, and then busily go about cleaning and various other tasks. My husband always appreciates my efforts in housework and thanks me with words of encouragement. However, my mother-in-law seems dissatisfied with me being a housewife, suggesting that since I am in the prime of my working years, I should go out and work. She even told my husband that I should contribute my earnings to the household. Furthermore, she accused me of neglecting my household duties and suggested that I might be bringing other men into the house during the day. She was making baseless accusations. At that time, my husband warned her not to say strange things, but my mother-in-law disregarded his advice and acted in an unbelievable manner. On the day the incident occurred, I happened to be having lunch with a friend from high school, so I was away from home. And when I returned home before evening, I noticed a sense of an unease. Firstly, the door was unlocked. I immediately contacted my husband, thinking that perhaps a thief had entered. "Hey, did you come home once today?"
No, I've been at the office all day. What's wrong?
"Didn't I tell you I was going to have lunch with a friend today? I made sure to lock the door properly when I left, but now the door is open, and I heard quiet sounds like someone rummaging around or footsteps. I'm scared, so I'm waiting outside the house. What should we do?" My statement surprised my husband.
Natalie, for now, contact the police and wait for me at a nearby cafe or diner. I'll come home immediately.
After he said this, I followed my husband's advice. I went to a nearby diner, ordered coffee, and tried to calm myself down. Could it be a burglar? What would have happened if I had encountered a thief? After 30 minutes or so, I received a call from my husband.
Natalie, I'm sorry.
I was bewildered by my husband's sudden apology. I wondered why he was apologizing, and then he revealed a shocking fact.
It was my mother who was at home.
Huh? What do you mean? I doubted if my husband had given her a spare key, but I was even more surprised when I heard my husband's explanation.
Actually, it looks like my mom stole the house key and duplicated it.
What? My mother-in-law apparently stole the key from my husband's bag when he stayed overnight at his parents' house. She took it to a locksmith who could quickly duplicate it. When the police came, she claimed that she was the mother of the owner of this house and entered using a spare key. As a result, my husband hurriedly rushed over. After my husband apologized to the police and sent them away, it seems that he had an argument with his mother. What does she think she's doing, reporting to the police? She's such a terrible wife, trying to make me out to be a criminal. Separate from such a horrible woman.
What the hell are you doing, locking the doors without permission?
I find it distasteful to be accused of stealing a key. Besides, it's your fault for not giving me a spare key. Your wife has no consideration for her mother-in-law. Normally, you should directly give a key and welcome me anytime, right? And yet, you don't even come for New Year's, birthdays, or Mother's Day anymore, do you? Plus, she's always wearing expensive-looking clothes. Such things are wasted on that wife of yours, so I'll take them for myself.
Hey, Wait a minute. What are you trying to do, stealing Natalie's clothes? That's outright theft.
My husband snatched the bag from his mom. Somehow it seems he managed to retrieve my clothes. When I heard about it, I was beyond angry and dismayed. To not only steal the keys, but also attempt to steal my clothes, I no longer wanted any association with such a criminal. I had intended to attend important family events like weddings and funerals, but even if there were a funeral for my mother-in-law, I will not participate. My husband understandably cannot tolerate the situation and has mentioned the possibility of cutting ties with his mother. I don't want to stay overnight in a house that my mother-in-law has rummaged through, so I asked my husband to clean up, and today I decided to stay at a business hotel. Since that incident, it has become a taboo to have my mother-in-law and me together among my husband's relatives. When I am invited to family events on my husband's side, my mother-in-law is not mentioned, and when she is present, I don't attend. In the first place, the number of relatives who insist on inviting my mother-in-law has decreased since she caused a scene at our wedding. It was not a problem, as my husband and father-in-law often attended on behalf of us. We had a peaceful daily life for a while after that. I safely gave birth to a cute baby girl. It was very relieving to have a stress-free and peaceful time during pregnancy without any involvement with my mother-in-law. However, since it was their first grandchild, we had to inform my husband's family. My father-in-law is someone who, for better or worse, is submissive to my mother-in-law and cannot go against her. Because of my limited interaction with my mother-in-law, there was naturally less involvement in gift-giving. But since donations are not a bad thing, we decided to visit my husband's family, more for my father-in-law's sake than for my mother-in-law's. I had the option not to go, but I couldn't bear to be away from my newborn baby, so I decided to accompany my husband. We thought about asking my mother-in-law to leave the house during the time or having my father-in-law come to our place, but my father-in-law has difficulty leaving the house due to his bad leg. It would be unreasonable for us to ask her to leave her own home just because we are visiting. In the first place, my mother-in-law would likely refuse to listen to our opinions and insist on staying, so we made up our minds to compromise with my father-in-law for just a few hours. I was filled with anxiety about how much sarcasm and the harsh attitude she would show, but surprisingly, my mother-in-law seemed to find the grandchild adorable and spent the whole time with a smile soothing the baby. "She looks just like you, David. She will surely become a beautiful lady in the future," she said with a smile, praising our daughter. She seemed happy, albeit using few words. This is probably the first gathering with my husband's family since we got married. That day nothing happened, and we returned home. However, the incident occurred shortly after that. It was during a weekday afternoon. When I was at home with my daughter, the doorbell rang. I went out to see what it was, and it turned out to be a delivery from my mother-in-law through a cool courier service. The enclosed letter said, "Congratulations on the 100th day." We were planning to prepare it ourselves, but it seemed that my mother-in-law had prepared it for us. Despite the conflicts we have had, it made me feel a little warm inside that she cared for our daughter. I intended to open it when my husband returned, so I put the congratulatory gift in the refrigerator. However, a little before I heard a sound and I had a bad feeling. So I took out the congratulatory gift from the refrigerator and opened it out of curiosity. Then, something unbelievable came out. Just as my husband returned home and asked what I was looking at, I answered, "It's a congratulatory gift from your mom to our daughter," and threw the gift into the trash. My husband was taken aback and rushed over in a surprised manner.
Hey, Natalie, what did you just do? Even if you dislike Mom, you shouldn't throw away something she gave for our daughter. You should apologize to Mom.
My husband, who didn't know anything, said that. I took out the congratulatory gift from the trash, showed it to my husband, and handed it to him. My husband looked puzzled as he opened the box.
What is this?
My husband was speechless, and immediately after that, his face turned red. He said he wanted to go to his mom. his voice trembling with anger. I nodded quietly and got into the car with my husband. There's no way to think of it other than harassment. No parent would stay silent after something like this. Without knocking, we entered my in-laws' house using the key my husband had.
Hey, Mom, what is the meaning of this?
My mother-in-law and father-in-law seemed surprised when we suddenly arrived while they were having dinner in the living room.
What's wrong? Why are you here, David and Natalie?
My father-in-law seemed to have no idea what was happening. My mother-in-law asked with a sneer, "Oh, did it arrive? How was it?" She had a completely malicious expression on her face. What's the meaning of sending such a disgusting congratulatory gift for her first 100 days? I was furious.
What? Did you send such a thing?
My father-in-law finally seemed to grasp the situation.
So why are you and Natalie angry? If you see this, Dad should be angry too.
My husband opened the box in front of his parents. There, inside the damaged package, was rotten fish. Not just any white fish, but spoiled tilapia, along with rotten sticky rice.
What kind of nerve do you have to try to feed this to a baby?
Seeing how outrageous this was, even the father-in-law seemed shaken. Have you ever imagined what would have happened if I hadn't noticed the spoilage and fed this to our daughter?
She could have gotten sick or even worse, lost her life. Can you take responsibility for that?
Despite our yelling and anger directed at the mother-in-law, it had no effect on her. If you were foolish enough to feed her that, then that's on you. I assumed anyone would notice it was spoiled and throw it away. It's your responsibility as parents. I was just joking with the gift. Don't be so sensitive. At that moment, when we thought we had reached our limit, my father-in-law snapped.
So you think you're in the right? Then try guessing what I'm thinking.
Huh? Out of nowhere, with a serious tone, my father-in-law started speaking, surprising even my mother-in-law. What's gotten into you all of a sudden?
I thought I could understand and tolerate your excessive behavior due to your personality, but this time, it's gone too far. If you believe that continuing to have Natalie around will cause trouble and harm to David and our grandchild, then I will kick you out of here.
Huh? What do you mean by kick me out?
I mean it literally. Divorce and leave this house.
No way. Do you think you can say that to me and get away with it? You wouldn't be able to do anything without me, especially in case of a fire. You'll be living all by yourself and lonely. Is that what you want? My mother-in-law tried to change my father-in-law's mind several times, but it seemed futile.
It doesn't matter. I'd rather not spend my life regretting it than tolerate your actions.
You... My mother-in-law was shocked by my father-in-law's stubbornness.
Mom, I've reached my limit too. I'm cutting ties with you. We don't need a mother who has done terrible things to my precious wife and even put our precious daughter in harm's way. Never show your face in front of us again. My mother-in-law was pale-faced, kneeling down and bowing her head in despair. However, Natalie, I'm truly sorry for everything. It was my fault for letting this go on. Dad, I do think if you had taken better control of Mom, things might have been different. But I know you loved Mom too. Deep down, I think you were hoping Mom would change. When my husband said that, my father-in-law nodded sadly. Yeah, that's right. But it's already past the point of no return. It's unlikely that she can change her character now. I also have to reflect on my actions, so if you and Natalie are willing to forgive, I hope you can consider our granddaughter as well. Saying that, my father-in-law bowed his head to us. Afterward, it seems that he and my mother-in-law got divorced. She repeatedly refused the idea of divorce, saying, "What will happen to my life since I've been a full-time housewife?"
but it seems my father-in-law managed to push through the divorce with a competent lawyer. I don't know how she's doing since then, but recently a relative happened to witness her being caught shoplifting at a supermarket. She must be facing difficulties in life and resorted to committing a crime. Well, it's all her own doing. On the other hand, my husband and I decided to move to a spacious apartment, considering what had happened this time. Here, neither my mother-in-law nor anyone else knows our whereabouts, and it's spacious enough for the three of us to live comfortably. We want to continue supporting each other as a couple and watch our daughter grow. And once some more time has passed, we are considering adjusting to our daughter's needs and accommodating my father-in-law as well. Attempting to feed spoiled food to a baby is already a crime, isn't it? I believe that the mother-in-law should face even harsher punishment. Anyway, it's fortunate that she noticed it beforehand, and it's great that her father-in-law supported her. Well, it's regrettable that he couldn't stop the mother-in-law's rampage earlier, but I hope she can forgive him and accommodate him for her daughter's sake. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to our channel. See you in the next video.